Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Bruce here, traveling with Bruce. Welcome to TWB. It's been a while since I've done a video. I wanted to do a little recap of what's been going on lately with the travel world, the cruise world. It's just not full of a lot of good news. There's just a lot of events happening that just keep confirming to this individual that we're into a shutdown that just will not give it up. I noticed, thank you, by the way, for subscribing to this channel, giving my videos thumbs ups. As depressing as the news is, I very much appreciate it. This week that we just had here in early February 2021, Canada has announced that they have shut their ports down. And unlike the cruise lines, they're not doing any of these 30 and 60-day kind of games. Canada just came out and said it in one sentence. No cruise ships coming into Canada for another year, from February of 2021 until February 22. No cruise ships coming into Canadian ports. That means Alaska for 2021 is dead. And that means, unfortunately, those beautiful maritime cruises, the fall foliage cruises that start in Boston and New York, that end up in Montreal, Quebec, those are all canceled as well for all of 2021. It means, as far as I'm concerned, there are probably now 50 to 55 cruise ships that had planned on being in the east coast of Canada and were going to plan to sail to Alaska, which means a stop in Canada. All now have no schedules. Their schedules are blown out of the water from basically February this year, or March, from April until the next autumn. Those ships now, what are we going to, the cruise lines are going to go, what are we doing with these ships? And the reality is these ships will be likely not sailing at all. They might be scheduled for some dry dock work if the cruise lines can afford it, because the ships just have lost 5 or 6 months of business in one announcement. Now, the cruise lines have not yet canceled all these cruises. You go onto some of these online booking sites and you'll still see cruises available for these ships to Alaska and all that. They don't exist. Believe me, you can't go on a cruise to Alaska for 2021, unfortunately. But Canada, they just out and out have said it. The virus counts in Canada are too high. The virus counts in the US are worse. The vaccine rollout is happening, but it will take towards the end of this year, 2021, for most travelers, North American and European, to get vaccinated. And there's just not going to be any cruising through Canadian ports. Canada will not take the chance. I, as a Canadian, I can't even fly now to many countries. And if I come back to Canada, I have to have a proof of vaccine, proof of a negative test. I have to do all kinds of hoops just to avoid a mandatory 2-week quarantine in a hotel that the government chooses for me. And that's a $2,000 cost minimum for a 2-week quarantine scenario, even if I have no indications of the virus. So Canada, the government of Canada is telling Canadians, don't even think about it. We are shutting it down even tighter right now because these variants of the virus are creating all kinds of havoc. And we are trying to desperately get Canadians inoculated. And it'll take the balance of this year, unfortunately. Speaking of cruise ships and cruise ports and sailing, Cozumel made some interesting waves a couple of days ago. There was an article talking about how port officials in Mexico are proposing to some of the European cruise lines like MSC and Ponant and others to strongly consider using Cozumel as a home port for cruise ships to start and end their cruises from this year. Mexico would love business. They're not interested in the shutdown. They're not going to do what Canada is doing by shutting down all their ports. They're open for business. And if people can arrive in Cozumel with a negative COVID test and no symptoms, they're prepared to allow people to board cruise ships in Cozumel, take 3, 5, 7-day cruises. Sounds to me like out of Mexico, you might be able to take a 5-day cruise where you go and visit maybe Honduras or Belize, again, if they will allow ships in, or just a cruise to another Mexican port or two and a couple of days in the warm waters of the Caribbean, and then come back to Cozumel, come off the ship, and go home, or stick around there for a week or two at a land resort and then go home, whatever you want to do. They're trying to scoop some business from some cruise lines, and they're reaching out to European operators like MSC that are desperately trying to get their ships sailing in the Mediterranean right now, despite the virus counts. I don't know how successful they'll be on this, because the logistics of getting thousands of passengers a week into Cozumel and out of Cozumel, plus the logistics of getting tons and tons of provisions for these cruise ships to the port of Cozumel is a logistical issue. So I don't know how that's going to play out. I'll watch that information and see what comes of it. But I found that to be an interesting comment and proposal from the Cozumel authorities. In other news, speaking of MSC, they've canceled sailings now till May in the Mediterranean. They're doing this 1 month at a time thing. They're just trying not to cancel a lot of cruises. They're just trying to cancel a sliver amount. But right now, May is the date there. Another story that hit in the past week was American Airlines saying that if this stimulus package that President Biden and the new Congress can't be passed soon enough, $1.9 trillion bailout, that they may have to lay off upwards of approximately 13,000 workers at American Airlines. And I'll tell you that at Delta and United and other airlines, they will follow suit. There could be 50,000 layoffs if this package doesn't go through, but it looks like it will. Looks like the votes are in the Senate already, and they're certainly in the House to pass a large stimulus package to keep these airlines alive with maybe a crutch on one side and limping on the other leg. It's pretty bad in the airline business. Obviously, it's really rough in the hotel business. We already know how bad off it is in the cruise business. But that's more news coming out from the travel side of things. Not looking good. The bottom line is, folks, we need to have vaccines distributed to everyone as soon as possible. We have to have a certain percentage of the population inoculated, and then we have to have these rapid tests at our disposal so that we can get through quick testing for airlines, quick testing at cruise ports, quick testing on board cruise ships. And of course, cruise ships will be limited to how many passengers they can carry when that time comes. But it looks to me now like all of 2021 is in jeopardy for the cruise lines. I just cannot see how cruise lines can bring crews into the U.S. to catch up to their ships. So it sounds to me like ships will get crews delivered to them by other ships by sailing them in, but there may well be quarantine timeframes set up with the Port of Miami and at Port Everglades and in Fort Lauderdale and Port Canaveral, just to mention 3 Florida ports. But this entire logistics of getting tens of thousands of cruise ship workers inoculated and then tested and quarantined, the costs, the logistics, it is a nightmare for these cruise lines, and I'm not sure how they're going to overcome all of this in a short time frame. To me, it looks like the end of this year before they really will have thousands and thousands of crew members ready to go, and then it's a matter of which ships start from which ports and what kind of cruises will the CDC really allow. How long? 7 days or less right now, and what destinations. The other question, of course, is if you're getting on a cruise ship out of Miami and the ship is going to 2 or 3 Caribbean nations, are the people there also covered from the vaccine, or will you catch the virus when you step off the ship in country so-and-so? These are all the unknown answers that we have. Unknown questions that are dominating the cruise business, and it's a real tough one for the cruise lines. Keep in mind also, children, there might not be cruising allowed for children for at least another year. because the vaccine programs that are being rolled out right now are for adults only. 16 and older is the age group for people getting vaccinated. And again, you might be vaccinated in North America. Your children might be vaccinated by the end of this year, let's say, but you're going on a cruise in January 2022, and where you're going, the children have not been vaccinated. And so you're vulnerable if you step foot off a ship in a locale where you might get the virus. And depending on the variant that you might be exposed to, this is all still, running around, and a lot of questions in people's minds going forward on cruising. But we'll stay on top of this news, as depressing as it is. We'll keep following it. I promise you. The cruise lines are desperate to get started, and why not? We're desperate to go. I can't wait to get on a cruise with you guys. I want to do a group cruise with you as soon as possible, but it's got to be safe for you and for myself, Jennifer, and for our family members when we come back. We don't want to be bringing anything back we shouldn't be bringing back. So, folks, hang in there. We'll keep updating you. I'll be live on Monday nights, as always, for sponsor members, and the Monday live show at 8 o'clock. And I'm also live every Friday for sponsor members. Become a sponsor member if you like. Join us for 2 sponsor member shows a week, and then join me for the big live show every week. And stay tuned to Traveling with Bruce for updates on travel. And if you love following the stock markets, join me on Stock Markets with Bruce. We got a whole different gang of people there following the investment community, and a bunch of them are becoming members of Traveling with Bruce, or becoming sponsors of Traveling with Bruce. Welcome all of you new members and subscribers to TWB. Welcome aboard. I think that when we announce our first group cruise, it won't just be TWB members joining in. I think we're going to have a lot of Stock Markets with Bruce members joining in on a group cruise, and that should be a fun crowd. So thank you, all of you, for your support and following me, and I wish you all the best. We'll keep you posted on updates. Stand by for more. We'll see you later, everybody. Bye for now.